So I will now pass over to Srihari, who is going to take and make us understand why the documentation needs to be smart. All right, please welcome Srihari. Clap, people. You have your team.
I'm just going to wait for her to join. This is Srihari, and I work for a company called WhatFix. So today's agenda is to understand how we can actually make our product documentation smart and interactive. So at the end of the day, the entire purpose of any documentation is to make a user complete a task. So that's why we are trying to use multiple tools, we are using multiple strategies in order to make that task simpler for the end user, right? So that's the entire point that we are going to discuss today. So help has always tried to solve that problem by yourself. So that's where WhatFix as a tool comes into picture. So I'm just going to give you a very short introduction to WhatFix, and then I'm going to show you how it actually makes product documentation a lot more smarter, a lot more engaging and interactive as well at the same time. So WhatFix is a platform to simplify user experience on any web application. So that's the foundation, right? So if you have web-based applications, for example, you might have a CRM system, you might have an ERP system. So any web-based application is where WhatFix is applicable for, including your website. So let's say your website is facebook.com, linkedin.com. So any web application WhatFix is applicable on. And since we do have a vast applicability, for example, any web application can use WhatFix. So we have been able to onboard a good number of customers in just 3 years of time. So just to show you some credibility into the conversation. So Oracle is using us, Google is using us, a lot of Indian companies are using us like Flipkart. So Flipkart obviously is an e-commerce engine, but Flipkart does have a B2B aspect as well. For example, they have affiliate partners, they have seller partners. So their affiliate partners are 60,000 in number. So just imagine the amount of documentation and support that is required for Flipkart. So that's the examples that I just wanted to give you. So what I'll do now is I'll start with a problem definition, like any other discussion here. So let's take a typical user journey on any help, trying to find any kind of a help on a product. So the first thing is, let's say a user is stuck on a CRM system, the user is working on a web application, the user is on a website or an e-commerce engine. So the user always tries to find help in these formats. So firstly, the most obvious thing is to go to Google and probably type in a query, right? So how do I add a new user, or how do I make a search query on a particular system? So this is the first thing. And then Google comes up with its own set of answers on top of your answers. And this is where the first sign of interactivity comes into picture. So you no longer have to go to a static, PDF document which is not updated from a long time. So you go to Google and try to enter a query, and Google provides you the most updated article or the most interactive one at the latest point in time. So this is the first example, and then we move backwards as to how a lot of companies are using help. So the first example is this. So we are all familiar with HDFC Bank, so that's the example that I've chosen, but most of the help sections look like this. So you can actually see, a documentation engineer or a technical writer has taken a screenshot and then overlaid, used, third-party tools, and then highlighted different sections. For example, this is the first step, this is the second step, and this is step number 3. So the user is able to read that information. At the same time, the user is seeing 3 different steps. So the user needs to remember it, go back to the application, and then perform in the exact similar manner. So this is the second kind of help that we have. And then this is a classic one. So you list out bullet points. Step number 1 is this, step number 2 is this. That's how you list out different bullet points, and the user has to go through 1 and 2, go back to the application. So there is a lot of to and fro for the user, going back to the application, trying to perform on their own and all of that. And then, the classic, the demo, the video syndrome, right? So we all have, some kind of an affection for videos. So no matter what feature we release or no matter what we do on the application, we want a video. So there are hundreds of videos for the user. So firstly, if you go to a repository like this, you'd have to find the video which is relevant to you. So you'll have to probably watch 3 or 4 videos in order to find that, which is the most relevant video, and then probably click on it and then try to find out, and again you'll have to go back to the application in order to perform it. So this is what we are trying to disrupt in terms of the user engagement. And what is happening at the company side is companies are spending a lot of time and effort. So they are providing all of this documentation, they are providing all of this support, they have a lot of resources in terms of onboarding these users or customers, and yet spend a lot of money, waste a lot of time and effort in doing all of these activities. So both users are struggling and companies are struggling to manage a good experience on the application. So this is where a tool like WhatFix comes into picture. So just imagine guiding you, somebody guiding you in a step-by-step direction. So let's say I'll give you a very vague analogy as to how WhatFix can actually simplify the entire user experience. So let's say before let's take 15 or 20 years back. So I wanted to go to a particular place at Hyderabad. So what I would probably do is I would go a distance, then stop my car or bike, and then ask a person, how do I go from here to that place. Then again I would go a distance. When I'm confused again, I would stop and ask a person again, how do I go from here to there. So that's what typical support is happening even to this day. So whenever a user is trying to use the application, he goes a distance, he stops, he calls up support and says, no, I'm not able to use the product. I want to see how to sign in, or I want to see how to change the settings, I want to customize. So every single point in time, it's the similar thing. So then what happened in the action scenario is GPS came into picture. So with GPS, it shows you the directions, one step at a time, and the user is able to consume it at the point of need. For example, let's say I want to reach to Secunderabad from here. So the GPS shows you one direction at a time, saying that go 4 kilometers or 400 meters, then take a right. So once I go 400 meters, take a right turn, that's when it says that go 600 meters and take a right turn. So that's exactly what WhatFix does. So WhatFix provides step-by-step guidance on the live application when the user needs it the most. So it's not static content, it's not just lying there, but the user is consuming it at the moment of need. And the most beautiful thing is the user is acting upon it. So only when you go 400 meters, that's when it tells you take a right turn. So that's what WhatFix does. So only when you act upon it, that's when WhatFix comes into picture and then says, click here, do this. So then enter these details. Then select a category from the drop down. So that's what we do. So let me show you a simple product. Let the product speak. I've done enough. So I'll play this video for you guys. So a very simple example video. So this is the first example. We have just taken the example of Salesforce here, but just remember that WhatFix is applicable on any web-based application, including your websites. So as soon as I arrive as a new user, so let's say I'm a new user, I'm just arriving on the application for the first time, or I'm not logged on to the application for a couple of days and I'm arriving on the application. So this is how WhatFix welcomes the user, saying that, okay, welcome, and this is the setup process that you need to complete. And let's say the user clicks on the guide me button here, then it triggers step-by-step instructions, and this is what I was talking about. So a balloon tip appears on the live application and tells the user click here or click here to complete the setup process. And let's say the user but I as a user, I'm an experienced user, I don't need 101 questions, I just need help on topics which are complicated. So that's what you populate here. So based on different user segmentation criteria or user profiles or user roles, you can segregate, contextualize help, and then provide it here for the user to consume. So to make use of WhatFix.
Thank you, Srihari. Hi, I'm Kavita, and I work for PTC. We are a product-based company. We build products that our customers use in the manufacturing and the CAD and the PLM space. We are also the leaders of creating applications in the IoT and the smart connected product space. Play with it, let's see what we can accomplish. So we did a couple of workflows, walkthroughs, and then we took that concept to our business teams, and we showed them that here, see, there's an opportunity that we can leverage. So during that time, we also did a lot of research on what other companies are doing, and we realized this is a relatively new concept. And so once we had a basic prototype in place, we reached out to the WhatFix team, and they were very helpful, and they started engaging with us in discussions to help us sort of bring some firm structure to the solution that we wanted to offer. The next step that we did was we took this, just doing a prototype within the organization is not enough. We needed to know what our users thought about it. So last year in Boston, where we're headquartered, we have something known as our user events. So we had LiveWorks 2016 in May. That was the largest IoT event on earth, if you may call it. And we had a lot of our customers who came over there. So we had the opportunity of running a UX lab, a usability lab on the walkthroughs for our IoT solutions. And yes, we got a lot of good feedback from users. In a usability lab, really what you're doing is you let users play with that prototype, you observe them, you see their reactions, and what we saw was that for the concept of walkthroughs, we received a very, very positive feedback. All the users rated that as very good, something that they would love to have. Some areas where they really found it beneficial was, if you have an app that's out and you want to now, you release a new version, and many times users struggle to find out what's new in that new version, right? A what's new section may accompany any kind of help that you're giving, but then it's not really very clear. So with this kind of walkthrough, what we did was, besides what Srihari showed, we also customized an icon that would launch what's new. So the customer would just click that, and that pop-up would run through the application and show him, oh, these are the cool features that we've added. So go and play with them. So we got very good feedback from the customers. So based on that feedback that we had, we were able to make a business case with the business leaders, and so now we are on our path to release that was a prototype version. We are on track to release the go live version with our apps during end of this year. So that's where we are. From a customer perspective, yes, the usability lab also, like any other tool or any other help format, we received a lot of feedback on usability in terms of what are the best practices you need to follow when you're creating workflows. What are the best practices you need to follow when you write content for these workflows as well? Because again, when a user is using this kind of a guided experience, they're looking at certain things that are very specific. So we received a lot of good feedback, and that's something that we are working on. And that's it. So we found this team very helpful, and we've also leveraged the PPT format. We are trying to bring our tech support people into it, and asking them to link the PPT and the videos to the tech support articles, so that all your resources are tied in, and anytime any customer wants information, we are using the same single source. So that's the vision that we have for WhatFix.
Thank you, Sarita. Just one last input here. So the most important one. WhatFix is an Indian startup, a product-based startup. So we are very passionate in what we are doing right now. So we have a passionate team back in Bangalore. So we are 30 at this point in time. And a good thing is, you take a list of Fortune 500 companies, there are at least 15 to 20 WhatFix customers in that list. So that's what we have been able to accomplish, by being in Bangalore, by having an Indian product, across the globe. We have spread, around 10 countries at this point in time, and 100 plus, enterprise customers across the globe. Just one, yeah.
Can we use this on mobile application?
Good question. So WhatFix is only for web-based applications, not native applications, not desktop applications.
So it seems like it's more like capturing procedural information.
Yep.
Other than that, can you capture anything?
Yeah, that's again a very good question. So basically, you're not just providing a walkthrough for routine activities or simple activities. You're also providing walkthroughs for complex scenarios. So let's say I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say a user has to follow a walkthrough, and in between a step, the user has to enter a date. So let's say the user enters, 7th of December 2016 is the date entered by the user. Then whatfix continues, and then the last step is to click on save. So now whatfix can be made intelligent by your input. So you can say that if the date entered is in this format, then tell the user by going back to that particular step, pointing a balloon tip there, and telling the user that this is the wrong format. Enter format in a different in a different manner. So you can reactively take steps, guide the user back where the user is wrong, and then continue to guide the user. Or I'll tell you one more scenario. So let's say there is a drop down and you have two options. So once you select option 1, it can take the user in a different direction, and once you select option 2, it can take a user in a different direction. So now static content cannot do this, right? But whatfix can be made intelligent enough to take the user in a direction that the user is looking for based on different options.
We use Zendesk and
making documentation smart and interactive. The reason how it becomes smart is you can actually track the usage of this documentation as to how many users actually used it on the live mode, how many users started it and finished it, how many users abandoned the help in between. For example, at step number 1, step number 2. So this also gives you powerful feedback on your own application as well. So let's say a lot of users are triggering the walkthrough and abandoning the walkthrough at step number 2. That says that there is some problem at step number 2. So this is where you need to refine your application, work on that feedback, and probably create a different scenario for the user.
whatfix also allows you to generate the knowledge base, right? Based on the walkthroughs that you create.
That's right.
And do you host it on your server, or do you need to buy a separate hosting server?
Yeah, most of the formats is hosted on whatfix, like the slideshow, article, PDF, URL, and all of these formats.
FAQs also, right?
Only the video is not hosted on ours because whatfix cannot be a video hosting company. YouTube is already doing a great job on video hosting, so we directly integrate with YouTube.
No, I'm asking FAQs also, can you build?
Yeah, FAQs can.
How much is too much for a walkthrough? I mean, I might be tempted to have a walkthrough for every other feature that I might have, but it might really bombard the user, right? I mean,
That's true.
every other screen I click, there are like hundreds of pop-ups coming up, which I don't really like. So, what would be your advice?
Yeah. What we usually suggest is, whenever a company decides to use whatfix, the phase 1 is always about solving the first level of challenges. So let's say, you might have 100 features, you might have 100.
From STC to Srihari.